Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap GrappleFest 9. We're going to preview Fight to Win 146, the return of Kyotera. We're going to preview Third Coast Grappling Kumite 4. We're going to preview Polaris 11, the GP. And we're going to preview SUG 16, Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, and the co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
Good, man. We are leading up to what is going to be a weekend packed with high-level jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I just updated the Grappling Rewind website, the events list, and I was going through, because that's pretty much what I do right before the show is I make sure we have our own notes together and everything to preview the show, and I was like, oh, there's 4 like really fun events next weekend, and I was like, I mean, are you good? We need to add more people this next week. He's like, nah, I got this. So we're going to have, I think, probably like 12 to 16 matches next weekend, like minimum. Yeah. That we're going to be talking about and recapping. So we're going to have about that many we're going to preview this week. It's going to be fun. Before we get into that, do you want to talk about a little bit of news?
Yeah, let's get into it, man.
So we have some fun news and we have some not so fun news. Let's start with the fun news. BJJ Stars has announced that they are being streamed on Flow Grappling. So if you've watched BJJ Stars in the past, you know they've had a pay-per-view model, and it's been interesting to stream. But again, getting on Flow is super exciting for us because it's available, and it's usually available immediately after as well. Yeah. And dude, the card looks awesome. This is on the 25th of this month of July, 2020. Dude, there is, I'm going to pull up the card here. We got Penna versus Kanan.
Yep, that's going to be huge.
That's going to be a really, really good fight because that basically is, it could be what we see in the over 99 kilogram division ADCC 2021.
Yeah, and we don't see Penna that much. You know, he really is, he's pretty selective.
He's on Third Coast occasionally.
Yeah.
He's on Stars if he's going to fight Erber Santos, which is funny. Erber's also on that card, too.
Yeah.
That's when they had the epic Erber fight and freak out.
Yeah, the Penna brothers, yeah.
Why would you forget 50% of the Pennas?
Yeah.
As Erber rushed the stage. And BJ Stars was like, we're never going to have him back. And then this card, he's back versus Patrick Gaudio. And I'm not upset about that because both those guys are legit, but dude, the Penna match versus Kanan is actually really good. I'm excited to look at.
I'm curious to see how that goes too, because Penna had a very visible loss against like
Gavao.
Yeah,
I would assume it's going to be in the gi. BJ Stars tends to do more gi matches than no gi matches.
I'm assuming
those
it's
guys.
Gi, yeah. Just looking at the pedigree of everyone on there, I would say that's probably
gi.
Yeah.
Also on the card, Claudio Calazans versus Zaki Behens. We have Gabriel Rollo versus Charles Dubronx. We have Leandro Lowe versus Hulk.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
It's going to be dope. Who else we got? Yeah, just all in all, you have, Ana Rodriguez versus Bia Basilio.
Yeah.
Dude, it's a bunch of other like really good matches on the card as well. I'm amped for it. Yeah. Now it's on Flow. I'm super excited that it's going to be...
That's at the end of July, right?
Yeah, 25th of July.
Yep.
It's going to be easier for us to cover, so that is awesome. In kind of shitty
and
news,
actually, the production value should go up too.
Oh, yeah. Usually stuff streamed on Flow is is pretty good, so I'm happy about that. In other news, Dorino got COVID and is now in quarantine. He has a headache, and he has a little bit of I think he's ache, something like that. He's in quarantine. He's going to hopefully get better. But as a result, he is not flying to Abu Dhabi to fight Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, they got Masvidal
instead. They did get Masvidal instead. So we'll talk about that at the end of the news segment. Moving into some other news. Do you want to take this?
Yeah, this is just it's always a bummer more than a bummer. It's really discouraging to see, leaders in the jiu-jitsu community kind of really go off the deep end and say harmful shit. And this one impacts me a lot. But basically a tweet from Renzo Gracie back in 2012 resurfaced where he was quoting Himmler. And
if you don't know who he is, you should look that up.
Yeah, he's one of the major orchestrators of the Holocaust, and one of the top people in the Nazi chain of command, probably second only to Hitler. And rather than, offering any kind of explanation or apology, Renzo responded basically by threatening the person who brought it up publicly, and then also saying more problematic shit on top of that, just sexist and homophobic stuff all over the place. And there's such a consistent pattern now coming out of public statements from him that it's just, as I said, completely discouraging, and it's personal to me because the club that I got started with was affiliated with him. I trained at the main academy in New York a lot. So it's just really shitty. So yeah, there's no way to cut it aside from that.
So that again, I have nothing. I have nothing to add. Like
that's
that
exactly
sucks.
it. Yeah.
Like you've said it all. Next piece of news.
Yeah, next piece of shitty news in terms of behavior from the jiu-jitsu community and leaders in it. The De La Riva school, someone posted messages from the school to the students basically saying that there was going to be a huge restructuring, no more co-ed classes, and canceling more or less the women's classes, at least as of the time of the message. And this is coming off of the heels of sexual misconduct allegations
from Claudio Duvall.
That were really jarring and awful.
There's a video that Duvall speaks about it, and you can go watch it and find the information out for yourself.
The De La Riva school responded a few days ago saying that more or less that the message that was in question in terms of canceling the women's classes was not intended to be sent out as an official stance by the
and they walked back some of the stuff that it was unclear because of COVID. They're trying to restructure some stuff, and you can find the whole string of both sides of messages online. But the initial message, at least to me, was kind of troubling because it seemed like, again, in the response, seemed like that they were canceling the women's programs for those schools.
Maybe they're not now.
Maybe they're not, which is kind of my hope, and hopefully
regardless, it's
the initial message, but didn't look great. So, God, I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, well,
I don't like any of that stuff. So let's move back into fun news, or different news.
I guess, news that we can look forward to.
Masvidal is going to fight Usman.
Yeah,
God,
I just watched Jack Slack's Filthy Casual's Guide to Jorge Masvidal.
It's good, isn't it?
It's fucking.
So
I forgot how good Jack Slack is at
breaking
Masvidal.
Yeah, since the Kimbo Street fights.
Motherfucker, I looked at his record. I knew he'd been in there for a while. I didn't know it was like 49 professional MMA fights.
More than that.
17 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
17
Dude fought in
years.
Bodog back in the day on the beach.
Yeah,
like when they used to do beach fights.
Yeah,
like on that card. Like
he's fought in Bellator, Strike Force.
He is that really famous guy getting choked out with the reverse triangle. That is him getting choked out in that inverted reverse triangle.
Yeah,
that's Jorge Masvidal getting choked out. Like, dude's been around forever. And if you've been watching combat sports, like, you've watched a few Jorge Masvidal fights. So apparently the money was right, and he's gonna fly in and save the day.
I'm looking forward to that, man.
Dude, I love watching Masvidal fight. I like watching Usman fight too. Like, he's using that as much of an action fighter, but that Colby Covington fight would beg to differ with my statement there.
Yeah.
Super exciting fight. Really tough fight for Masvidal.
Yeah.
Again, but Masvidal also has crazy, crazy good wrestling.
Yeah.
Like when Damian Maia says you're the strongest grappler he's ever faced, not strongest, like strongest is like from a technical perspective in MMA, that is high praise like few others.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be a really interesting match. I think it's going to be super exciting. I am bummed that we don't get to see Durinho, but this is a.
But I hope that he recovers. Hopefully, like everything's good, because if he recovers and everything turns out well, and like potentially we can see both those fights in the future. Like with that matchup being moved, it doesn't. With where Durinho sits in that division, it doesn't necessarily discount him from the next shot at any three of those guys.
Yeah.
So it's like either the matchup with Colby's good with Durinho. You have the matchup with Usman or the matchup with Masvidal. Like all four of those guys could fight each other at any time, and three of those guys, four of those guys. At any time, and I'm super down. Like the welterweight division right now in the UFC is banging, and I am super excited for it.
Yeah.
Third Coast Grappling has also announced the Third Coast Grappling 5 Double or Nothing for August 8th. $20,000 on the line for that one. And I like the concept. Just the posters out there, it's Mourinho on the front of it, and it's Double or Nothing. It's got 20 grand on it because all the events, the Kumite events, have been 10 grand. This one's double. So I'm assuming that they're going to bring back a bunch of the guys from the previous Kumites, which have all been stacked.
Right.
We're going to talk about the Kumite 4 here later in the show, which is
gracious.
also stacked.
Yeah.
You might see the Nicky Rod versus Cyborg rematch.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of potential.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about that.
We could see a Cyborg Hulk rematch.
We could see a Cyborg versus Jimenez. We could see Hulk rematch versus Jimenez. Like it's really good. We'll talk about it a little later in the show. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah, return of Kaio Terra on Fight to Win. We'll talk about that, too. That's also in news. Let's see what else. Oh, in other shitty news, Glory files for bankruptcy. Glory is a kickboxing promotion I'm a big fan of. They're pretty much the premier kickboxing organization internationally, and definitely in the U.S. right now. They're an international promotion, but as far as U.S. viewership, like, Glory is the one you know about. So they filed for bankruptcy. Allegedly, I think is what it's come out. Yeah. Hopefully, a lot of their fighters go to ONE.
Yeah, I was about to say...
ONE has good kickboxing.
Yeah, well, ONE might be... I don't know if you've been following, but ONE, like Jack Slack has also been like hammering ONE's kind of like financial statements.
Yeah.
It looks real shady.
They do.
Hopefully.
But they kind of always
hopefully someone picks it up. You know, like there's thankfully, you know, they're good
ONE champion, not Ang Lang. I'm going to mess up the guy's name. Guy trains locally out of here. He's in Florida now. Aslang Lang. And I'm looking at the guy's face. I'm blanking on his name right now. Also has COVID.
Yeah.
Trains at a Dorino's camp.
Yeah.
And so then he got it, and then Dorino got it a couple days later.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's it sucks. But what else what else do I have for news? Andrew Tackett got his purple belt.
There we go.
Congrats to him. We're all pretending that we're playing the same game, Emil.
Yeah.
So that's all I got for news. Anything else you got?
That's it.
All right, let's move on to our preview. Let's move on to our recap of GrappleFest 9. This was fun. So this one was headlined by Fionn Davies versus Tiny Porfirio.
This was such a dope match.
In a straight-up open-weight fight.
Yeah.
And we were trying to preview this and kind of going like, I don't know how this plays out, really. Like,
yeah.
I can see Fionn's path to victory. I can also see Tayani coming in, but we hadn't seen a whole lot of Tayani in a while.
I left, this is one of those matches I left being impressed with both competitors. Yeah. Like, just awesome match.
We've seen we've seen Fionn fight large women before. We've seen her win opens and stuff.
Yeah,
but Tayani is just...
Tayani can move, and like,
her passing's super good too. I was
really good.
Impressed with...
She also is just like, she's not myopic, which is a problem we see with stronger fighters a lot, where they just want to go for their one thing. Mm-hmm. She was reacting and countering to stuff, and
but
implementing.
But again, props to Fionn here.
Yeah.
Was making her counter. There's a couple toe holds where there was a couple times that Tayani grabbed the toe hold.
I was terrified for Fionn.
Because we've seen Fionn, I think, twice get injured. We saw her get injured at ADCC.
We saw
injured
her
at Worlds.
In person
with footlocks.
Yeah,
and I watched Tayani, who is 30% bigger than her, ish, 40% maybe, significantly bigger. I watched Tayani flex her arm and grab that toe hold and cinch in, and I went. Yeah. I did.
It didn't help too that Fionn was turning up to yell at her coach.
Yeah.
And I thought she was turning up to scream, and I was like,
Fionn's face is super expressive too. Yeah. The entirety of the match. Whenever you watch Fionn fight, her face is extremely expressive, and I saw that and I went, oh no,
I did not want to see that again. But hey, Fionn stuck this out, and honestly, I think did an incredible job.
She kept going underneath Tayani for knee bar, because I feel like
off the bat she starts setting that up. Fionn starts by pulling in close guard. She opens, goes to reverse De La Riva, and does an amazing job at destabilizing Tayani and getting to a leg entanglement. But Tayani answered with her own Estima lock. This is one of the first times where I was like, oh, okay, this is not you're going to hulk through and look for one of the three positions that you want.
I'm only going to smash from top side.
This is Tayani was like, cool, you want to leave your leg out? All right, I'm going to Estima lock you. Punishing Fionn for the decisions that she was making.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful counter.
That's one of the reasons I really enjoy Tayani's game at the heavier weights, is because we see she has a dynamism to her pass. Her passing, I was super impressed with her passing, and then that coupled with Fionn's ability to invert and regard here.
Oh, Fionn's regarding was ridiculous.
It made for a really interesting dynamic, because at any point I was like, okay, I think Tayani has this one. She is using her weight and her size very, very well. The way that she's kind of crushing the hips down of Fionn and getting around. But Fionn was in it, and she kept going for the legs, kept looking for the offense.
Yeah. It was incredible. There was a moment where Fionn transitions, basically starts standing with Tayani and hits a duck under to take the back and try to leap onto the back. And actually, Fionn had a hilarious Instagram post.
I've not seen this.
Oh, it was her on Tayani's back, and she's like, in my head, I was thinking, I'm Marcelo, and then the next image was like her getting squashed under like Tayani like shortly thereafter. So basically Fion's on the back trying to jump up, take the back, and Tayani does a great job at like blocking the far hook. Like she
grabs it.
She grabs
like,
it.
Fionn goes to step over, and you see Tayani like reaching, like, it reminded me, I have to cut you off completely, but I'm going to. It reminded me of the thing that Gary Tonin does. When you try to take his back, he does like the airplane thing, and he puts his arms out, but Tayani does it, and she actually grabbed Fion's foot. And I've seen this go both ways where it works, but I've also seen somebody step their foot out and then trap the arm when they do it. But the way that Tayani grabbed it, she was nice and pinched in tight, and she grabbed the entirety of Fion's foot.
Also, I don't think there's many people that are going to trap Tayani's arm.
No.
But the other thing that she did was she stepped that hip forward. Yeah. And so she had both the arm and the hip blocking. I thought it was great defense.
That was my biggest like defensive takeaway moment from Tayani. It was like, oh yeah, she's not just gonna like flip you off and like roll you over here. She stopped the hook. She stopped the position. GrappleFest doesn't have points, but if there was a points thing here, she'd stop the points. Like, that was really interesting to see. And again, if you're much bigger than your opponent, you have the ability to grab their entire foot.
And then Tayani does the most hilarious thing. So Fionn has to reset and gets her feet on the ground. And Tayani just grabs Fionn's leg and yanks her like leg through for a knee bar. It was fucking hilarious.
Oh, you were very strong.
Yes.
So match goes, anything else on that?
Yeah, they go into like double toe holds again. And then the match basically ends with Tayani in a toe hold where she didn't have Fionn's hips, but I think those attempts were just enough to secure her the victory. But we've
also seen people finish those. Again, toe holds that super weird sub where it's like you think you're good, and then certain times we see like, oh, I finished him. Like, where it's super hard for me as a viewer a lot of times to tell what a legit toe hold is and what a not legit toe hold is, because
I can't either. Yeah.
Well, it's like, I think you're much better at it than I am, because we've watched matches together and you're like, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit toe hold. And I'm like, I don't know if it is or not.
Well, there are times when people go for it and they don't have the hip controlled, right? And like they're not pinching the leg, whatever. That's kind of an indicator. But
somebody finished it. There's one match I'm thinking about. Someone was belly down, and they finished it like DJ Jackson finishes the Kimura. They just went over with it and finished it down, and they had no control of like the hip or body, but they were able to finish it. I can't remember who did it.
If you do it, it's like if you do it with enough violence. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, no, you're right. If you yank it over.
Yeah, basically, if you can do it fast enough that the inertia doesn't allow for the leg to catch up, then yeah, you'll just straight up break it, at that point. So that was the match. Went to decision, and Tayani gets it done over Fionn Davies. Again, good match. I was really impressed with what we saw from both. I hope we see more Tayani Porfirio. Yeah, like I really want to see the Garcia match at this point. Like that's the two largest, most accomplished women in the sport that are above 60 kilos. Honestly, like
I want to see it, man.
I would pick Tayani, just like seeing how she deals with a smaller opponent here. I thought it was she was answering technical stuff with technical stuff. I mean, there were times when she used her physicality as well, but like
use what you got.
Yeah, use what you got. But I mean, very, very great grappling. So
I wish we would see Tayani more often.
Yep.
I think she's off suspension now. Mm-hmm. I think she's good to go as soon as like the world kind of goes back into swing. I think we'll see her again. Yep. So it's awesome. Next match, we have Jackson Souza defeating Dan Strauss via decision. This was
stand up
push match.
Yep.
For the entirety of the match, and then Dan Strauss jumps like a flying armbar at the end. It's kind of a guard pull at the end. There's two things in this match that kind of surprised me. The first one was immediately at the go, Dan Strauss, because if you follow Dan Strauss, you know who Dan Strauss is. We've covered him on Quintet, I think on some Polaris before. Yeah. Dan Strauss is super into like strongman and weightlifting. Also has a podcast, Raspberry Ape, which is like I really enjoy listening to.
He's done commentary as well. Yep.
He's a good commentator. He's a really good commentator on Polaris, I think.
Yep.
And he's stupid strong. Yeah. Like ridiculously strong hands and ridiculously strong like lifts that he does.
His grips look absurd.
Crazy strong. One of the few guys to lift the Denny stones. He's super strong. He snaps and like turns Jackson Souza at the beginning of this match, and you saw Souza like take like a lighter stance at the beginning, and Dan just turns him and snaps him, and then you immediately see Souza kind of like change, like, oh snap, like okay, and that kind of changed the tone of the match immediately to a much more defensive match. And that's sort of what we saw for the entirety of the match. I think Souza was defensive, but he was just putting up a little more on the feet than Strauss here. And then in the passing exchange at the end, he looked like he was sort of dominating that. And that was really all you could judge the match on. And so that's, I think, where he gets the decision. It was a close match, but it was, I think, 9.5 minutes of stand-up pushing.
Yep.
Was really the whole match.
Next up, we have Ashley Williams defeating Kev Corkill via decision.
Dude, he was all over the place.
This is a great match.
This is a fun-ass match.
Yeah. I mean, the commentators talked a lot about how kind of Gumby both of these guys were.
We've seen Ash like turn and like not get got by stuff that's like, oh Jesus.
I mean, dude, off the bat, Ashley gets a Darce on Kev, and like I thought it was dead to rights, and they were like, yeah, Kev's actually really good at getting out of places, bad places, and sure enough, he pops out, and I was like, God damn, like. That's impressive, but there was a moment where I was like, "Oh, he's one of those motherfuckers." Where Ashley gets the mount, and Kev.
If you don't know that, Amir was doing that super respectfully, as like you have a technique that is annoying because I can't deal with it very well.
He does he's on bottom mount, and he's Gumby enough that he can invert his legs, trap you, and then
shut
you off. What is that called?
It's called a goat hook.
Goat hook. Okay.
Super annoying.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that at white belt, and I didn't know it was, again, at white belt, you think you figure stuff out, and then you watch like more grappling, and you see that, a lot of people do this. But at the time, I hadn't seen that, so I was like, I can do this thing, and I did it for a while at the gym. And then someone was like, yeah, man, that goat hook's really annoying. I was like, what's a goat hook? They're like, that thing you do with your foot for the mount, when I'm mounting on you. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. Dude, it's so annoying. And we've seen that way more often nowadays. Like, that's why guys in Nogi have to keep that stupid low high mount on the chest, because if you're below, we think 160, like the dude will fold his body in half and then get underneath you right there.
Farasa Hobby actually has a phenomenal YouTube video on a sequence that he developed specifically for dealing with guys like this.
I've seen this.
Yeah, it's so good.
So good.
Basically, I can't remember the name of the video.
I remember
it's like basically if you Google Farasa Hobby and like dealing with flexible players or something. I think
it's does he call it the goat hook, or he calls it something else?
No. He doesn't name it.
He's got a different name for it.
Yeah, but regardless, it's a great sequence, and watching videos like that shows you exactly how brilliant of a technician Veras
I'll show you how his brain works too.
Yeah.
Like, I like that video because you can see like how he takes a specific problem and how he like addresses it and goes through the sequence. It was really cool to see how his brain works in that video.
So yeah, Kev is definitely one of those guys. Tremendous goat hook. He's able to shuck Ashley off of mount and actually put him into a leg entanglement, which is just think about that. He's so Gumby. He can go from being mounted into a leg entanglement.
It's actually like a really, really strong position to do that from, because what you do is you basically get underneath the guy's hips, and then you can turn them over into that like single leg X position on the outside.
Yep.
And then you can roll through for the heel hook, which is kind of exactly what he does.
Yep. So yeah, just great match, great back and forth. Ashley takes it. I think it's pretty decisive for Ashley. But
yeah, especially like there were sections of the match where he was chaining attacks together, and his transitions better. He was on top more. He would go from like a choke into like an arm into like a leg in a couple different sequences, and it just looked like that he was putting up the more consistent like worrisome offense, and I think that's how he gets the decision.
Yep.
But it was a super fun match, and we were big fans of Ash. I think that he's probably now on docket to get the #1 title spot for the under 70 kilogram belt, which I think Cade took from him. So I think we'll probably see that rematch here soon, or we'll see both guys fight one other time, and then we'll see that rematch there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep. Next up, we have Lewis Long defeating Ben Hills via rear naked choke. Chris Walsh defeats Freddie Sykes via inside heel hook.
Super quick inside heel hook here.
Craig McIntosh defeats Ellis Younger via decision. Wing Chao Chung defeats Youssef Nabi via straight footlock. Lee Chadwick defeats Edward Aitken via decision. Ollie Bates defeats Michael DeAguiar via decision. Mick Stanton defeats Kieran Malone via decision. Tyrese Cunliffe defeats Lucas DeSales via decision, and Jack Fletcher defeats Tom Burrows via decision.
So that does it for GrappleFest 9, July 4th. I love watching dude, I think they've done it a couple years in a row. I think they've had July 4th cards. I'm always a fan of watching grappling on July 4th, so it was cool for that one. Want to move to the next one?
Yeah, let's do our previews.
What do you want to move into first? So
we got to do third coast, man. I mean,
right.
like that's just the shit is fucking ridiculous.
So Third Coast Grappling, the Kumite 4, dude. The Roman numerals, like 3 things with Roman numerals this week. Or sorry, 2, Kumite and SUG. And I had to look up the Roman numerals for SUG because I'm kind of I'm dyslexic. Or not dyslexic. It's a different kind of version of dyslexia where everything inverts and stuff. So I cannot figure out like what the 4 and the 5 and like the X's and the I's go together and what they mean.
So here's the lineup for the Kumite. We have Nick Rodriguez, Roberto Jimenez, Cyborg, Arnaldo Maidana, Felipe Andrew, Lucas the Hulk Barbosa, Johnny Tama, and Guillermo Augusto Soares.
And we got the bracket.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the bracket.
Yeah,
so,
let's talk about the bracket.
Let's talk about the left side of the bracket.
Left side of the bracket is the proverbial group of death. Like, you know, every World Cup they talk about which group is like the nastiest. In this case, this side of the bracket is so lopsided, it is fucking ridiculous.
On a history point, Emil just referenced something that if you've not been watching grappling for a long time, you should go look up Abu Dhabi World Pro Group of Death, because every year at Abu Dhabi only allows 2 grapplers to weigh in on sequitur, 2 grapplers from the same country into a division. And if you, let's say, have 8 Brazilians in a division, you have to fight and do a tournament beforehand to figure out who gets into the tournament. And that bracket is typically called the bracket of death or the group of death because it's just a crazy stacked bunch of guys trying to get to World Pro.
Yeah, from Brazil.
So you should go watch World Pro.
In this case, the left side of the bracket, round 1, we have Roberto Jimenez versus Nicky Rodriguez. That's going to be fucking ridiculous.
This is Nogi. So I was thinking about this matchup. So Jimenez last weekend made 180, under 180, 179 point, like right under 180. So he cut weight. What do you think Jimenez is cutting? 10 pounds? Walks around probably 190-ish, right?
To what, 180?
No, yeah, you think Jimenez made 180 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Jimenez walks around about 190, right?
Sure.
You think that's right? Rodriguez, we know, walks around anywhere from 235 to 245. Craig Jones was on the Who's Number One podcast probably like a month ago or so and talked about Rodriguez being at like 245 right now.
Yeah.
So Rodriguez has 55, is that math?
Yeah, about
55.
Somewhere around 50 pounds, yeah.
On Jimenez.
That's going to be bonkers. In part because both of these guys push an insane pace.
Yes.
Here's the thing.
Does Jimenez get him in close guard?
Because
here's the thing. I've talked about it on the show and off the show. I don't think there's a dude in jiu-jitsu that can reliably take down Nick Rodriguez.
Sure.
Reliably. You guys can know that maybe, but I don't think on the show we've seen someone get him down. Yeah. And score and establish.
We saw in Nogi Jimenez both go to close guard and do amazing shit from it. So
So I think if you're Jimenez here, you pull. You get Nick Rodriguez down. But Nick Rodriguez has been working on his passing. But Roberto Jimenez, really, really good open guard player and close guard player.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen him as this guard. It's fucking ludicrous.
But we also saw Nick Rodriguez almost get past Vinny Magalhaes' guard, who also has an insane open and close guard.
Yeah, it's not the same. I mean,
it's not the same.
It's not the same because Jimenez has he's just dangerous. He will punish you. There's a lot of guys who's like, okay, this is annoying to deal with, but you're not in fear of getting submitted.
They're not going to jump on your side at any given time.
Right. In the case of Jimenez, the danger of it means man, you got to be careful. You cannot throw yourself willy-nilly into that. Now, that being said, Wagner Hosha was able to survive that guard. He's significantly smaller than Rodriguez.
I'm interested to see how Rodriguez uses his size, because you've seen Rodriguez understand how to play the bully role against guys he outsizes. Again, I'm curious to see, because Jimenez is a long, tall guy, but Rodriguez is a big fucking dude. He's a big dude. I'm curious to see if he's able to push Jimenez's guard down, but is Jimenez going to throw that triangle up? But how is Rodriguez going to pass off that triangle? Again, I'm super curious about this. I kind of want to lean Rodriguez just because...
I'm going to lean Rodriguez too because we've seen how dangerous he is lately, and he's been super active.
And there's few guys that can ever come with a good solution for Rodriguez. We've not seen anyone except for Duarte. figure out, oh, this is how to deal with Rodriguez. Like, nobody else. And he's been an ADCC. Again, you're a blue belt and you get silver medal at the ADCC.
The other thing, too, is, like, his camp is smart. They're going to know...
Yeah.
His camp is going to be like, this is what Jimenez is going to try to do.
Yes, and they're going to prepare him effectively for it. And if you go to Golden Score and you're ahead at all, cool, stand up on the feet.
Yeah.
And then it's a takedown game with Nicky Rodriguez.
Yep.
Like, again, Jimenez definitely has the tools to
So
get done.
it's going to come down to, like, you know, we know Nicky's going to be standing, so what is Roberto doing, basically? That's going to be the question. How does Roberto get to close guard? Because
But I think this is cool, though, because both guys have very defined pathways to victory. Like, if Rodriguez gets on your back, he can choke the life out of anyone.
It's over, yeah. And the other thing, too, is, you know, we've seen also the stand-up of Jimenez. Like, I would be surprised, but, like, his body locking is no joke. And
his body locking is good. He's got a good body lock, but I don't think he can reliably get to Rodriguez's hips and get in on him. Like, I think he's going to be the faster guy here, but I just think Rodriguez is, like, Rodriguez
honestly,
knows
I think they're
what
about the
he
same
did.
speed.
But that's what I mean. Rodriguez is 50 pounds bigger. Like, Rodriguez is one of the guys, and actually Craig Jones talked about when he was talking about Nicky Rod, he sticks to his game plan. Like, that dude is not going to, he's like, this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
And in the room, he'll try stuff, but he's super disciplined on the mat.
Right.
I think that's what we're going to see here. We're going to see Nick Rodriguez is going to do the thing his camp tells him to do, and it may work.
Scrambling with Jimenez is fucking dangerous.
Does he leave? And that's my other thought of, like, does Jimenez, I think this ends in one of two ways. Jimenez triangles Nick Rodriguez. I don't think he does either.
I think it's on the back.
You think he gets to his back? Oh, he does that duck under.
He does the duck under body lock. He rolls through. So, like, if there's a scramble, like, I think, like, basically Jimenez gets to the back. That's how.
You think in a scramble he gets to the back?
Scramble he gets the back, or from close guard he gets the back.
Yeah, I can see either of those, or I can see Nick Rodriguez doing a cartwheel pass and doing a diving cartwall pass and taking the back for Jimenez.
We'll see, but
so I'm gonna favor Rodriguez
Jimenez.
here.
Rodriguez
here. I'm gonna favor Rodriguez.
I am favoring Jimenez.
Oh, earlier you said I'm gonna favor Rodriguez.
No. I meant Jimenez. Yeah. I'm in favor of Jimenez.
That's the first matchup. Second matchup, we have Cyborg versus
Maidana.
Arnaldo Maidana.
Yeah, I mean, in this case, like, Cyborg has firmly cemented that he's a fucking beast.
I have to stop picking against Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, like, because Cyborg, like, I think in 2019, I was like, for some reason, I just didn't respect how good Cyborg was. I don't know why. If you look on paper, I have no idea why. And then Cyborg messed up my picks repeatedly by beating, like, everyone in every GP he was in. And then it was like, okay, let me stop picking against Cyborg.
Beating the tar out of people,
that's what this pick is. Like, I think he's smart. He's going to understand the rule set. He's been cornering, I think, the last, like, 2 or 3 Kumites. Like, Maggie was in the last one. Wagner was in the last one.
Yeah.
Like, he gets the rule set. He gets the stage. He's a really good game planner as well. I just think that he...
If your pick for match 1 is correct... and it's Rodriguez versus Cyborg in a rematch, how does that go?
I don't know. I legitimately don't know, because you look at the match at ADCC. Extremely close matchup. ADCC rules, Nick Rodriguez wins that. Any other rule set,
remind me, did they have a match after ADCC?
Kasai.
Yeah.
At the Kasai, we were in Dallas.
Yep.
And
that's right.
we were in Dallas.
Right. Yep.
And
yep.
where they clashed heads and Cyborg bled everywhere.
It wasn't a super fight. It was a tournament.
Like this is. And then that was a super close matchup, went to a draw, if you call that. And it was really close, but Cyborg seemed to have figured out sort of how he needed to deal with Rodriguez, but Rodriguez started to kind of figure out how he needed to deal with Cyborg, and it's like the dynamism of how both those guys figured each other out. I think, again, Cyborg's going to pull here.
Yeah. I am super hoping we get a Jimenez versus Cyborg match. I think that would be fucking awesome.
That would be super nifty, too. How do you think that matchup goes? Jimenez versus Cyborg.
I got to go with Cyborg.
I can't pick against Cyborg. Yeah. I just feel like he's one of those really, really great kind of strategists for knowing how to,
it's like
work the rules and play.
You think Cyborg is going to get triangled? I don't think so.
No.
Jimenez going to take Cyborg's back? Like, I just
Probably not.
maybe I would be delighted to be proved wrong, but like,
I see Cyborg passing here. I see Jimenez and design to pull, and then we see Cyborg using his passing game, getting around, and we seeing him doing like really dynamic transitions on top.
You don't want to stand with Cyborg.
No,
as
you
Hulk
don't.
Found out.
No, ADC. Yeah, no, you don't want to stand with Cyborg.
Yeah.
Roberto Cyborg Abreu.
Yeah.
So again, both those matches are really good. I think Cyborg. I think we most likely see
obviously Nikki
Cyborg
could stand with him, but that's about it. But
So that's the first two matchups, and that's out of the bracket. Side B of the bracket. First matchup, Felipe Andrew versus Lucas the Hulk Barbosa.
that's going to be an awesome match.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be a phenomenal
I
match.
think in either gi or no gi, this is a no gi matchup. I think that Hulk takes this one.
Hulk is favored here, but like
Yeah.
Felipe is dangerous. You know, he can always
Only dude to beat Keenan in the gi ever. Like
submission. Yeah.
By triangle, like name tap.
Yep.
I just think Barbosa, we've seen the way he passes, the way he does, he's looked so good.
He's just established himself as a standard. Like,
yeah.
he's the guy, you know, like he's the champ.
I see an armbar win here from Hulk. I just feel like he is gonna.
Man, we just saw Hulk. Who was it that he just like grinded? Oh, it was Lovato. He grinded the shit out of him,
And they got the armbar.
Yeah,
That's kind of where I think this goes as well. We also see we saw him get the armbar versus Jimenez in Fight to Win, right? Yeah. So I think very similar. Either Hulk passes in golden score, or he armbars in regulation. I don't see him like getting a guillotine here or getting like a sort of choke. I just see him taking an arm regulation. Next matchup, we have Johnny Tama versus Guillermo Augusto Soares. I don't really know how to pick this one. I think Tama is definitely the smallest guy in this bracket by far.
Yep.
I kind of want to give it to Guillermo just on a size thing alone. I just think he's going to be able to use the size, use the weight, get around Tama's guard. Again, Tama's been super game in some of these bigger guy brackets, but I just feel like the size is going to be insurmountable in this one.
It's size and just like absurd level of skill. You know, like there's a size thing that you can overcome. It's way different when it's, you know,
a really good guy.
Talking about the overall bracket.
Yeah.
The fact that there's basically like
Nick Rodriguez and Cyborg and Hulk. The guy, dude's name's Hulk.
Yeah.
Like, he's called Hulk because he's so big and strong.
Yeah.
So next week, so that's out of the bracket. We're probably gonna have Hulk versus Augusto. I think Hulk takes that one as well. So then we have who you think Jimenez, Rodriguez, Cyborg versus Hulk.
Yeah.
Did Nicky Rod and Hulk fight at Kasai or at ADCC?
No, because Nicky Rod was in Kainan's bracket, and Kainan and Hulk were not in the same.
Kainan was not in that bracket.
With Nicky Rod?
No, Kainan and Rodriguez at ADCC or at Dallas?
I'm confused.
Sorry,
I thought you were talking about ADCC.
No. I was talking about at Kasai in Dallas, were Nick Rodriguez and Hulk in the same bracket. I think they were in different brackets because Cyborg and Hulk fought at the end.
Yeah.
So I think Rodriguez was in Cyborg's bracket, and then they had the injury dropout, and although they had the same amount of points, Cyborg went on because he had gotten the point over Vinny.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And then Hulk and them fought. So I don't know. Did Cyborg and Hulk fight at ADCC? Not Cyborg and Hulk. Then Rodriguez and Hulk fight at ADCC.
That's what I was saying about ADCC. Is I don't think they did, right? Because like it was Kainan versus Rodriguez, and Kainan and Hulk would not have been in the same.
Probably not.
So let's see, Rodriguez.
Yeah. So, but I really, it's going to come down to that side A of the bracket of like who moves on. Jimenez, Rodriguez, Cyborg. And I think that all three of those matches are super interesting versus Barbosa. The pathway to victory, I think we're going to see the rematch for Barbosa. I think Barbosa still takes it versus Jimenez. Similar ways to fight to win. You know, he just implements a similar strategy to Lovato and then the first time. I think Cyborg versus Hulk potentially goes the same way as it did in Dallas.
That's a great question because like yeah, like absolutely, Cyborg looked dominant in that. Also, I mean, like an Atos guy, like those guys are fucking smart. Like,
Yeah, Andre is one of the best game planners in the sport.
you know, like I would be surprised if Hulk wasn't already thinking about a Cyborg rematch.
Right, and he's
like-
going to prepare for it differently. But again,
Exactly.
how much change in Hulk's game do we typically see? Over the last year. That's
No,
is
he's
one of the-
versatile, man. He's very versatile.
He's very versatile. It's like, is he going to approach it the same way and just try to like make improvements, or is he going to approach it a different way? I don't necessarily think he'll approach it a different way. I just think he'll look to shore up things that he did the first time.
Right.
But again, I don't like to pick against guys in a rematch.
Right.
So it's like I still think Cyborg takes that.
So
now
Hulk did not encounter Rodriguez at ADCC. He was in Gordon Ryan's bracket. He loses to Gordon Ryan in the finals. He meets Nicky Rodriguez at BJJ Fanatics.
Oh, I forgot about that. The
And he
heavyweight
wins,
GP.
He wins in EBI overtime.
Yep. I should have watched that match ahead of this.
Yeah. So,
I think,
yeah.
I don't know who you pick. So who you picking now?
For Cyborg versus Hulk?
So no. So who do you think takes the whole thing? Because we
Dude,
kind
it's
of,
so-
I think Jimenez and Cyborg both beat Barbosa. Or sorry, I think Barbosa beats Jimenez.
Yep.
If Jimenez makes it.
Yep.
I think Cyborg beats Barbosa if Cyborg makes it. Now Rodriguez versus Barbosa. That's the one that I just don't know how to pick. If that is what comes to pass.
Yeah, I think I have Hulk on that just because
Because you already beat him once.
Because, and Hulk is that, like, the Atos guys, the more I see them, they're fucking tacticians, man.
Yeah.
Like, they fucking know how to win. They know, like, you really have to do something like Cyborg and derail them completely, but otherwise they're gonna, like, they know what they have to do. So, if it's Cyborg versus Barbosa, that's a really tough call. Yeah. I almost have to go with Hulk just because those guys, again, are like very adaptable. I would be surprised if there's someone out there who can take one of the top Atos guys and consistently beat them, right?
That's reasonable.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah.
I don't know. I want to make a pick, but it's like this one is so hard.
It's super hard.
Super
but
hard to pick.
I have to go
which
with
is a
Hulk.
good bracket, which is a fun bracket.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll come back to that.
The other thing too is Hulk, I think, has an easier pathway into the finals than anyone on the fucking left side of the bracket.
Yeah.
So there's also that.
Okay, it's gonna be less tired. I want to go Hulk then.
Yeah, but
All right, maybe Cyborg. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe Rodriguez.
it's a great bracket. There's a lot of
Also in this event is a charity super fight between Gordon Ryan and Brian Martin. Brian Martin used to be the president of the We Defy Foundation. They're doing a charity exhibition match to raise money for the We Defy Foundation. I'm assuming this is kind of going to go like the Kazushi Sakuraba versus who did he fight at Quintet? Where it was like almost like a pro
I think
wrestling.
it was Dan Strauss.
One of the first time though versus the Japanese referee.
Oh, I can't remember.
Where it was like kind of a fun back and forth match, and it was an exhibition match, like Fedor versus Aoki, where it's like an exhibition kind of like fun matchup, and they put on kind of a grappling like a showcase match,
Right.
Because Gordon Ryan is really really good and Brian Marvin is good, but there's just like Gordon Ryan's one of the best no-gi guys in the sport currently,
Right.
And so I think it's gonna be a fun exhibition match.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out. Next match we have Maggie Grandotti versus Veda Toscana. This is gonna be really really good. I'm assuming this is in the gi, and we just saw Maggie take on not Luisa Montera. I'm blanking on the name, and Justice Intra. Last 2 weeks ago at Third Coast and lose via armbar. I am really curious to see how Maggie deals with Veda Toscana here. Next match, we have Mona Valley versus Natalia. I can never say her name.
Natalia.
Yeah. Natalia Santoro.
Yeah.
Gordon Ryan's girlfriend. Both blue belts. Both been taking on brown belts. Actually, this is actually legitimately a really, really like evenly matched up match between these two women. I'm curious to see how this goes. I'm assuming this is going to be all submissions legal, but could go either way. I know they've both had matches like that. They both not had matches like that. I kind of want to lean towards Natalia, just because I feel like she's going to have a deeper depth of leg lock, but we've seen both of them kind of run into problems here and there. I'm super curious to say the match goes up. I'm gonna pick Cyborg.
Okay.
Just because I kept picking against him, I've been wrong over and over again.
He has 2 consecutive wins over Hulk, so that's not a bad.
Doesn't have a win over Rod though. He has the draw. I'm going Hulk. I'm going Cyborg. Just because I'm going to sit here and pontificate for the rest of the week and not be able to make a pick. So that does it for Third Coast Grappling Kumite. It's on July 11th on Flow Grappling. Super excited for that one. Any other kind of closing thoughts on that one?
Mm-mm.
All right, let's move into our preview of Fight to Win 146. Dude, there's like a bunch of really good matchups on this card as well. This one takes place in Austin, Texas. Finally leaving Dallas after I think like 6 or 8 weeks. They're finally leaving and going, 2 hours down the road to Austin, Texas. Main evented by a 165-pound black belt gi match. Edwin Najmi versus Oswaldo Caixinho Moizinho. We just saw Oswaldo versus Gary Tonin.
Yep.
2 weeks ago, I think.
Last week, I think. Yeah, Gary heel hooked him. Yep.
Mm-hmm. What do you think Edwin's going to do here, Emil?
Yeah, I mean, we know what Edwin's going to do.
Edwin might try to flying triangle a dude.
Yeah.
And jump over your guard and flying triangle you?
Yeah.
May get slammed once or twice?
Yep. Ski match, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm gonna favor Edwin here. I just been looking better and better.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I don't know that I have a
We saw
definitive
Caixinho
action.
look really, really good versus Agazarm.
Yeah.
And then I just think Edwin's been a little more active. Like
We've seen Edwin a lot, yeah.
Yeah, we've seen Caixinho on Fight to Win recently, like being super active in the past like month. I'm gonna favor Najmi here just because, dude, flying triangles in Fight to Win go really far. Co-main event: 135-pound black belt nogi Kayatera versus Gabe Tuttle.
Kyle's back.
Kyle's back. When's the last time he fought? Do you know?
It's been a long ass time.
I don't know the last time we've covered him on the show. I know he was on a Fight to Win. I don't think that we were even doing this show the last time he was on Fight to Win, although he might have taken on Barrett Yoshida at Fight to Win a while ago. I think it wasn't the Philly card. It was I think he took a decision win for the Masters Plus title over Barrett Yoshida. Is the last time we saw him fight. And I think it was at 135 pounds, but I could be incorrect about that.
This is wild. Kaio's BJJ Heroes page doesn't have his, matches.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Thanks, BJ Heroes, for being the thing that Emil looks up while I fill space sometimes.
Yeah.
Really, it doesn't?
Yeah, it doesn't.
No shit. So I'm going to go with I'm correct there, and that's the last time we saw him. I'm going Kayatera here. I love Kayatera.
Yeah, I'm going Kayatera.
He looked so good versus Yoshida.
Yeah, and plus he's, up until recently, had Musumeci at his gym. That's tremendous
training Musumeci.
Yeah.
Oh, this will be the first time that he doesn't have Musumeci.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I'm curious about this now.
Yep.
Next match, 180-pound black belt nogi match. John Combs versus Andrew Wiltsey.
Awesome. Combs is super entertaining. So
looking for the neck, baby.
Yep.
John Combs is looking for your neck.
Yep.
Gonna wrestle you and look for your neck. So I'm excited for that. Again, I think I feel like Combs is gonna get done here with the guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm gonna bet on a few things, it's John Combs by guillotine. Next match, we have a 135-pound black belt nogi match. Edwin Juni Ocasio versus Justin Ordinario. I think the last time we saw Juni on Fight to Win, I think he was a brand new black belt. I think it was also a nogi match. I'm not sure if we've seen him in the gi. I forget who he fought, though.
I'm trying to remember, too.
Were we at it live or no? Was it the Philly card?
Was it Gio?
Nah, it wasn't Gio.
Okay.
I don't think it was Gio. Man, we should really have a list of athletes and who they've fought recently. We again, there's so many things to preview this week. We usually kind of actually do have that, but this week we have not.
Let me look it up because it's probably...
So this is the other interesting thing. This will be the first time that Juni doesn't have the Meows. Or I assume he's been training with the Meows before they've left Unity. Because they had that kind of private training thing set up. Gianni Grippo and I think Paulo got together on an Instagram Live a while back and talked about the training situations for the Meows. Probably a month and a half ago before they left Unity. And I'm not sure if Ocasio was part of that private training thing they had set up or not. Now that the Meows have left, I'm kind of curious to see if, like, he has, I mean, he's now just has Marilla.
Yeah.
Not just Marilla. I mean, he has everyone else at Unity who's like Levi
Yeah.
Lear and all the other killers at Unity. But
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what his training situation has looked like in this kind of interim time.
Yeah, that'll be really
Because we
curious.
haven't seen Ocasio on anything since quarantine.
Ordinario or Ocasio?
Ocasio.
Yeah.
Ocasio.
Yeah.
So-
So we, in my notes, the last time that I have Junie that I covered, and I'm pretty sure you covered him on a week that I wasn't there because
That always happens.
that happens. But he was in ADCC North American Trials against Keith Kokorian.
Oh, yeah, that was we covered him. We've covered
I
him.
remember I remember that because we started covering it at this round in the tournament.
Yes.
And we didn't we didn't talk about his previous matches
Yeah.
leading up to that where he'd done like really fucking well. I remember now.
So, super fun card. Again, next weekend's going to be a long show next week. Let's see what else we got. So that's all I got for Fight to Win. There's a bunch of other, the full card lineup. They're moving to Austin, so expect to see a bunch of Austin grapplers. Austin is always a super fun city to see. We also have Jada Mueller on the card as well, Fight to Win staff. It's always great to see. Let's see if anyone else offhand really quickly I recognize. We have Zach Edwards in a 180-pound brown belt gi match. And yeah, it should be a really fun card. Want to move on to, let's see what else we got. Polaris.
Let's do it.
All right, so Polaris 11. They were doing the big heavyweight GP, but that got moved due to coronavirus and some other items. But now we are doing I'm actually not sure if this is an open weight bracket or I forget what weight this bracket is at. It's a GP, but it's an under 90 kilogram GP with some super fights. We have do the names here because I'm gonna butcher them all.
Okay, we
First
have
round.
Nastasa Silviu versus Taylor Pierman.
Nastasa is the person who won the Polaris qualifier to get on the Polaris to actually get into the bracket. So I'm super excited to see what he looks like.
Tom Brees versus Freddie Vosgrone.
Freddie Vosgrove, I think, is undefeated at Polaris. He's one of their guys he's not one of their homegrown guys, but he's one of the guys that we've seen featured on GrappleFest and Polaris a bunch. Used to come out in that red singlet and then go for like heel hooks and stuff. Really great wrestling game. He's actually did the DC Open. We've seen him a lot. We've talked to him before. I always love watching what he does.
Ross Nichols versus Dominic Dillon.
Ross Nichols is Ross Nichols. Probably one of the favorites in this tournament.
Bradley Hill versus Shane Curtis.
Yep, and Hill, again, is a staple on Polaris on a lot of these. Also, super fight, we have Jed Hugh versus Dinu. Give me that name.
Dinu Bukalet.
Thank you, Emil. So that is on Fight Pass. So if you got Fight Pass, some great grappling to watch there. Let's see. What else do we have for this next weekend? Oh, we got SUG. Which I had to add to the list because SUG is sneaky with their announcements for their cards. We got Mason Fowler versus Craig Jones.
That's going to be
SUG 16.
fucking hot fire. We talked about
rematch.
this previously, yeah. Mason Fowler and Craig Jones met at ADCC in the 88 kilogram.
Under 88 kilograms.
And
what round?
I think it was round two. Yeah, it was round two
two.
because Mason fought BB Monstro in round one.
Yes.
Round two was Craig Jones, and Mason fucking took it to Craig Jones. Craig was able to win via guillotine, was it?
Yeah, off the mat on the concrete guillotine in front of the scorecard.
I want to say with like 30 seconds
I think
left.
23 seconds, something like that.
Something
33
like that.
seconds like that.
Yeah.
Right towards the end. Again, this is the match we always talk about when we talk about Craig Jones passing, his top game, and because Mason made him do jiu-jitsu. It made him do all of the jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
And
yeah, we saw Mason basically, in all phases take Craig Jones there. And honestly, up until the submission, had it looked like he was winning.
Yeah, I think this is a funny match.
I think
for
he was
points.
up on points. Yeah,
he wasn't up on points, but there's a
okay.
discussion about if he should have gotten points for something he had done prior.
Got it. Yeah,
and that was the discussion. But again, Craig wins that one via submission, but that went almost the full time. And right now in SUG, I'm very curious to see how this matchup is going to go for time because previously SUG had done 15-minute matches, but during quarantine they are doing 5-minute matches with overtime. So we have a debate on the rules. Actually, I should have asked the guys at SUG before we did the show right now what their agreed on rule set was going to be for this one.
I want 5 minutes, No overtime.
Decision.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So who do you think? So okay, so SUG is probably going to do a 5-minute match with EBI overtime. In the context of the match, how do you think this goes?
If they do EBI overtime, I'd rather have 10 minutes of match.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think this is something that you have to. I would feel kind of robbed to have a really short match. Again, if we get a 5-minute match, I'm happy that the match has been put on.
The match
given
is
the
going to be fire
circumstances.
if it's 5 minutes. But if there's an overtime, then that changes the strategy of how you do it. Because it's like, man, 5 minutes. It's like there's an overtime. You know, not saying that either guy would do this because they both are very game fighters, but like, yeah, I think it's gonna be awesome regardless. Who do you pick? I mean, Craig Jones can submit fucking just about anybody. Like,
that's kind of where I'm leaning to. Is like Fowler looked really good. Looked good at the tournament to win to get to fight Craig Jones again. Like he beat Jimenez.
Yep.
Like Fowler is no joke. North American Trials winner.
Yep.
To get into ADCC, like beat Baby Monstro, who we speak very highly of. Like this is a really, really good matchup. This is deservedly like a main event slot for SUG. I think that Jones takes it.
Yeah.
But I think it's an overtime. I think Mason is just too good to be able to figure him out, deal with him, get him in a deep spot, and submit him in 5 minutes.
Yep.
I just don't see that happening. I think that the level that Fowler is on, as we saw at ADCC, is so high.
Yep.
That Jones is going to have his hands full, kind of being able to lock him down in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
And because there's no points, a lot of the wrestling game that Fowler like really displayed in ADCC that kept Jones, kept him honest, but that put the match in the phases that Fowler was really finding good success, are less available to him at SUG given the size in the cage and given that the way the rules are structured.
Right.
I think it goes to overtime. I think that Craig is really, really good at the overtime.
Yeah, actually, this is an interesting point because Mason fights in MMA, right?
I do not know.
I thought
I should know that.
Okay.
I honestly, since we started doing this show, like more than 2.5 years ago at this point, I have sort of fallen out of my absurd MMA knowledge. This is when we need Simon. Hey Simon, it's if I MMA, and Simon, the correspondent on the Grappling Rewind, dude knows MMA at an absurd level. And so this is when I text like, Simon, did this thing happen? He goes, yeah, it happened here.
Yeah, he's an MMA fighter.
Okay.
So that is interesting with a cage.
Used to the cage wrestling, used to the cage work.
Yep.
I just think it doesn't. Craig's gonna pull.
Yeah.
You think Craig's not gonna stand with him? There's no incentive to stand and SUG.
Yep. No, you're right.
So I think that the cage is less of a factor. Craig sits in the middle of the cage. Yeah. I think he forces Mason to pass. Yeah. I think Craig's gonna do what he does and invert and look for that heel. Mason's gonna try to position, trying to get to the back.
Yep.
But probably gonna play it a little safer.
Yeah.
Force the overtime.
Yep.
And then we're gonna see an overtime shootout.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm gonna give the edge to Craig just because he has so much more overtime experience, and we've seen him. Like, dude, must be Gordon Ryan in overtime.
Yeah. I'm not ruling out Craig Jones winning in regulation too. So
I never rule that out, but I just don't think, given the caliber that Fowler is, that it's most likely going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't remember the last time I've seen Fowler get caught. That's the
like Craig Jones.
No, there's like a point. If it was at ADCC after like a long match, that's a good point. Immediately, it's like, remember that thing you just talked about? Yeah, Emil. Yeah. So also on anything else on that card? Anything else you want to talk about?
No.
All right. So also on that card, I'm missing the actual card. I had it in front of me. There you go. Also on this card, we have Jillian Roberts versus Amanda Lowen. Amanda Lowen just took on Jessica Ai last SUG, beat her in a close decision. Jillian Roberts, UFC fighter, tied for the most submissions in the women's history of the UFC, taking her on. Curious to see if it's going to be more kind of closed guard work, if we're going to see more passing from Roberts. We also have Micah Bakerfield taking on Jake Ellenberger. Again, Jake's been on SUG. Actually, Micah's been on SUG too. I'm curious to see how that's going to go. I don't really have a whole lot to add on that. We also have Richie Martinez versus Kevin Casey. I feel like Richie's going to just look to invert on the heels for Kevin Casey, who wears 2 knee braces. I could see him going to overtime, and I could see Martinez taking it via overtime, but I could also see Casey being able to pass here and put the pressure on Martinez, but Martinez is notoriously hard to choke.
I mean, yeah, and also just passing Martinez Like,
Gumby. Like, he's honestly, Martinez is probably the most prolific rubber guard player that we cover. Him, Marvin Castillo, and yeah, as far as guys that play rubber guard, like, I don't think anyone that we cover on a regular basis plays rubber guard as much as Martinez does. I feel like Casey's not going to let himself get postured down in the rubber guard and, like, allow it to be played. Also, with Sug allowing for slams and Kevin and Casey having fought, like, I feel like he's going to lift and slam, and, like, that's going to be less of a factor. I'm just curious to see. Probably can't pass. It probably ends up in overtime. So that does it for all the previews. We got a ton next week to go on. What else you got, Emil?
That's it, man.
What's your week look like?
Pretty chill. Just more yoga. It's funny doing something and being like, oh, fuck, I'm a white belt again. Like, you know.
Dude, I'm getting into painting Warhammer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's, you just, like, ever been, like, really, it's fun to remember, like, what it was like to be really, really bad at something.
Like, not just bad, because, like, I'm still bad at jujitsu, but, like, there's a difference when you're like, I have no idea what's happening right now, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and it's also great because there are, like, long periods of, like, learning a lot. Being like, oh, I can, you know, I adjust these things here, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
So that side is great. It's just super frustrating being so goddamn inflexible. So,
dude, it's cool to, like, have we're both in the same thing, like, getting new skills.
Yep.
I'm like, oh man, I want to put the paint here, and I'm like, I can't. Oh, I don't know how to, like, use the brush correctly. Oh, this is so, like, I can't. I know what I need to do. I just can't get my body to do it.
Yep.
And I'm hoping this experience makes me a better jiu-jitsu instructor, because I can more effectively explain, like, oh yeah, it's like, well, just put your hips here. It's like, well, he doesn't know how to do that. It's
right.
Like, okay, and be able to explain, like, how to get there. Because now, like, I remember the paintbrush thing you couldn't do. Like, yeah, you just can't do it. Explain it in a different way. You talk about the technique in a different way. So,
right.
So it's it's been fun. It's also given me something else to, like. I had to cut back on running because my body started to kick back hard.
That's a good thing to listen to. Yeah.
Yeah, I ran 50 miles last month. My body was like, hey, bro, like, you need to slow it up a little bit, and calm down.
There's also something very zen about painting too, which is, like, great. I think that's,
dude, I watched Family Guy, like, I watched all the Star Wars Family Guys episode yesterday, and I just, like, painted and just hung out and painted because I had my notes done for the Grappling Rewind. I had, like, this show was already prepped and ready to go, which usually on Sunday night is a mad dash to, like, get everything together. But we had just GrappleFest, so I'd already watched it on July 4th and had everything ready. And I was like, cool, I can just, like, spend Sunday night watching Family Guy and, like, painting.
There you go.
So it was a nice little break, and it was relaxing. So you got anything else, Emil?
That's it.
All right. So as always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, just my co-host.
Emil.
And we have the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats whenever that is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.